Every day the world loses legends, icons whose lives shaped our culture, our memories, our hearts. From actors to musicians, pioneers to visionaries, their stories deserve to be remembered and celebrated. Welcome back. Here we honor the lives, achievements, and legacies of those who passed, today keeping their memory alive for generations to come. The news arrived quietly, but for many longtime music fans, it felt impossible to ignore. In the early hours of the morning, tributes began spreading across radio stations, music pages, and old hip-hop communities online. People were not only remembering a rapper, they were remembering a sound that once changed the mood of an entire generation. For younger audiences, the name Rob Base may sound like a distant echo from another era. But for those who lived through the late 1980s, his voice carried through city streets, crowded clubs, school dances, and summer parties across America. Behind the energy and celebration was a man who helped push hip-hop beyond neighborhood blocks and into the center of popular culture. And many are now asking the same quiet question: how did one song become powerful enough to shape music history forever? Long before streaming platforms and viral trends, Rob Base was building a movement through rhythm, confidence, and unforgettable beats. Born in Harlem, New York, he grew up surrounded by the changing sounds of the city. Hip-hop was still young then. It lived on street corners, inside packed clubs, and through cassette tapes passed from hand to hand. Few people imagined it would one day become a global force. But Rob Base believed the music could reach further. Together with DJ Easy Rock, he created a partnership that carried a different kind of energy. Their chemistry felt natural, almost effortless. Friends who watched them perform in small venues often spoke about the excitement they brought into every room. One local promoter later recalled, "When they stepped on stage, people stopped talking immediately. You could feel something building." That feeling exploded in 1988. It Takes Two arrived with pounding drums, playful confidence, and a beat that seemed impossible to ignore. The song was loud, joyful, and rebellious in a way mainstream audiences had rarely heard before. Almost overnight, it crossed barriers that many record executives once believed hip-hop could never cross. Radio stations that once avoided rap music suddenly played the track constantly. Dance floors filled within seconds of hearing its opening beat. Teenagers memorized every line. Even people who claimed they did not listen to hip-hop found themselves repeating the chorus. But behind the massive success was a deeper story many fans never fully saw. At a time when hip-hop artists were still fighting for respect inside the music industry, Rob Base helped prove that rap could succeed commercially without losing its energy or identity. He did not soften the culture. He brought its excitement directly into the mainstream. And in doing so, he helped open doors for countless artists who came after him. Music historian Alan Light once said, "Songs like It Takes Two changed the business forever." It forced people to take hip-hop seriously. Yet fame moved quickly. As the years passed, music trends shifted and new artists entered the spotlight. Still, Rob Base never fully disappeared. His performances continued drawing crowds who wanted to reconnect with a simpler and more electric moment in music history. For many fans, hearing that famous beat again felt like reopening a memory they thought time had erased. There was also heartbreak along the way. In 2014, DJ Easy Rock passed away, leaving a painful silence beside the music they once created together. Fans noticed the emotional weight Rob Base carried after losing his longtime partner and friend. During later appearances, he often spoke carefully about their journey, choosing gratitude over bitterness. "He was more than my partner," Rob Base once shared during an interview. "He was family." That quiet loyalty touched many people more deeply than the music itself. In recent hours, social media has filled with tributes from artists, DJs, and listeners across generations. Some shared old concert photos. Others remembered hearing It Takes Two for the first time as children. One fan wrote, "That song made people happy instantly." Few artists can leave behind that kind of feeling. Another tribute simply read, "Hip-hop lost one of its architects." And perhaps that is the most important part of Rob Base's story. He was not only responsible for a hit record. He helped build a bridge between underground culture and mainstream recognition. The energy he created did not stay trapped inside one decade. It traveled forward, influencing artists, producers, and performers who may never have fully realized where that sound began. Tonight, somewhere, that familiar beat will play again. Maybe at a party. Maybe through old headphones late at night. Maybe in the background of someone remembering younger days they can never return to. And when it does, the voice behind that revolution will still be there, carrying the same energy that once changed music forever. The noise inside the speedway slowly faded as fans began sharing old race clips late into the night. Headlines about Kyle Busch spread across sports networks and NASCAR communities, but the reaction felt more personal than expected. For many longtime racing fans, it was not just the story of a driver. It was the story of a competitor who spent years refusing to slow down, even when the pressure around him became impossible to ignore. Some remembered the victories. Others remembered the rivalries. But beneath the arguments and debates was a deeper question that followed Kyle Busch throughout his entire career. How did one driver become both admired and criticized more than almost anyone else in modern NASCAR history? Long before the championships and packed grandstands, Kyle Busch was a teenager with an unusual obsession for speed. Growing up in Las Vegas, he spent countless hours around race cars with his older brother Kurt Busch. Mechanics still recall seeing the younger Kyle quietly watching every adjustment in the garage, learning details most kids his age never noticed. One former crew member later said, "He understood racing before most people understood him." That understanding became clear very quickly. When Kyle Busch entered NASCAR's national scene, his talent felt impossible to ignore. He drove aggressively, spoke confidently, and raced with a level of intensity that often unsettled older drivers. Some fans loved his fearless attitude immediately. Others saw him as reckless. But even his critics admitted one thing: he never raced halfway. The victories began piling up. Week after week, Busch pushed his cars harder than most believed possible. His style created dramatic finishes, emotional confrontations, and unforgettable moments on the track. Cameras often captured him climbing from the car exhausted, frustrated, or fiercely determined. NASCAR had seen talented drivers before. But Kyle Busch brought a different kind of energy, unpredictable, emotional, and deeply competitive. And that intensity came with consequences. There were nights when boos echoed through entire stadiums after a race. Fans waved signs criticizing him. Rival drivers openly challenged him during interviews. Yet strangely, the criticism only seemed to fuel him further. The louder the reaction became, the harder he raced. Veteran broadcaster Mike Joy once remarked, "Kyle Busch never wanted to be invisible. Every race mattered to him." Behind the sharp public image, however, people close to Busch often described someone far calmer away from the cameras. Friends spoke about his devotion to family and his private support for younger drivers trying to enter the sport. Those quieter moments rarely made headlines, but they revealed another side of a man many fans thought they already understood. One emotional chapter changed his story forever. In 2015, a devastating crash during the Xfinity Series opener left Busch with severe injuries, including broken legs and a broken foot. For a moment, questions about his future filled the racing world. Some wondered whether the aggressive driver who once seemed fearless would ever return the same way again. But months later, against expectations, he climbed back into the car. The comeback became one of the most powerful moments in modern NASCAR history. Busch did not simply return to racing. He captured the NASCAR Cup Series championship that same season, turning pain and doubt into one of the sport's greatest redemption stories. Fans who once criticized him suddenly saw something different: resilience. After the championship victory, Busch quietly told reporters, "You never know how strong you are until racing is taken away." That sentence stayed with many people. Over more than 2 decades, Kyle Busch became larger than the sport itself. Children copied his racing style in video games. Rivalries involving his name filled television broadcasts for years. Yet his legacy was never built only on wins or statistics. It was built on emotion, on risk, on the willingness to carry pressure openly while millions watched every move. Tonight, old NASCAR footage will likely play again across televisions and phones. The roaring engines, the dramatic finishes, The moments fans argued about for years afterward. And somewhere inside those memories remains the image of Kyle Busch, fearless, controversial, determined, still racing every lap as though it might be the one people remember forever. The announcement came quietly, without the kind of attention often given to celebrities or political figures. Yet in neighborhoods across America, community leaders, pastors, educators, and longtime activists paused to reflect on the loss of a man whose work had shaped lives far from television cameras. Robert L. Woodson Sr. spent decades walking through struggling communities with one belief that never changed: real change begins from within. As tributes slowly appeared online, many people remembered not only his words, but the places where he chose to stand. Empty basketball courts, church basements, housing projects forgotten by politicians. Why did he trust local people more than powerful institutions? And how did his ideas continue influencing conversations about poverty and race for so many years? Long before he became a respected national voice, Woodson understood hardship personally. Raised during a time of racial division and limited opportunity, he witnessed communities fighting to survive under enormous pressure. Those early experiences shaped the way he viewed leadership. He believed dignity could not simply be handed to people through policy alone. It had to be rebuilt through responsibility, faith, and local strength. That belief would guide the rest of his life. During the civil rights era, many activists focused on changing laws and expanding federal programs. Woodson supported justice deeply, but he also saw another problem growing quietly beneath the surface. He worried that communities were beginning to lose confidence in their own ability to solve problems internally. Friends often described him as calm but deeply determined. He listened carefully before speaking. And when he entered struggling neighborhoods, he rarely arrived with cameras or speeches. Instead, he sat with local residents, former gang members, single mothers, and small church leaders who were already trying to rebuild their streets quietly on their own. One community organizer later recalled, "He made people feel seen before he tried to help them." That approach became the foundation of his life's work. Through the Woodson Center, he supported grassroots leaders across America who were often ignored by major institutions. Many of them had no fame or political influence. Some were recovering addicts. Others were former prisoners trying to guide young people away from violence. Woodson believed these individuals carried a kind of wisdom that experts sometimes overlooked. His message was not always popular. At times, Woodson openly challenged both political parties, refusing to fit comfortably into one ideological side. He criticized government dependency while also speaking honestly about racial injustice and economic inequality. Some supporters admired his independence. Others struggled with his refusal to follow predictable political lines. But even critics often respected his sincerity. Author Shelby Steele once said, "Robert Woodson believed people were stronger than society told them they were." That belief became especially powerful during difficult national moments. As America faced rising violence, division, and distrust, Woodson continued visiting neighborhoods many public officials rarely entered themselves. He spoke with urgency but never with hopelessness. Even in places carrying deep pain, he insisted that healing was possible. There were also quieter moments many people never saw. Those close to him remembered long conversations with struggling families late into the evening. Young activists recalled receiving unexpected phone calls from Woodson offering encouragement during difficult periods. One former student shared online, "He didn't just teach ideas. He reminded people they still mattered." As news of his passing spread, tributes came from community groups, pastors, educators, and public figures from very different political backgrounds. That unusual respect revealed something larger about his legacy. Robert L. Woodson Sr. was never trying to become universally loved. He was trying to become useful. And perhaps that is why his work endured for so long. Tonight, in small churches, community centers, and neighborhoods still fighting for hope, his influence quietly remains. Not through grand monuments or headlines, but through ordinary people continuing the work he believed in so deeply. Somewhere, another local mentor will guide a young person away from violence. Another struggling family will receive help from neighbors instead of strangers. And in those unseen moments, the voice of Robert L. Woodson Sr. may still be echoing softly, reminding America that strength can still rise from places many have forgotten.